All right, welcome head coach Kenny Brooks to the dais. We will open it up to questions for Coach. We'll start with Mark.
Kenny, they're obviously one of the better teams in the country defending the three-pointer. What do you kind of see on film to kind of explain why they're good at that, and how big what might that be a factor tomorrow?
They really guard the perimeter very well, and not just a three-pointer, but they put pressure on you. And I think it kind of, if you allow it, it will affect your rhythm of your offense. And so they do a really good job. Obviously, Andrews, strong guard, Walker, quick guard. And then they have kids who are long and athletic. So they do a really good job. And I don't know for sure, but it's probably their philosophy to make sure they can test three. So they do a really good job with that. But I think it all starts with the pressure that they put on you and on the perimeter to try to really throw you off rhythm.
Kelly in the back.
Coach, I remember that Baylor game a couple years ago, and I know it's a different Baylor regime, but that was when you guys were still kind of trying to break through. So what did you think from a full circle standpoint, and what do you remember about your team against Baylor, and then compare that to now?
I mean, that's actually a signature game with this group. You know, if you ask Liz and Georgia and Kayla, that game right there, you know, taught us what we needed to be to get to this level. And we walked in. I remember we played that game, and we were in the bubble, and we had to share like a big gym before we went out to warm up. And they bopped in there with music blasting, and you know they had so many veterans who went to the WNBA, and you could just tell it was a different confidence level. And you know, I think the first play when we threw a pass into Liz and it got blocked, and I looked at my assistants. I said, "Which one blocked it?" And they said both of them. You know, but it just set the tone. And our kids, it's probably one of the longest games that I've ever been associated with. But it was a very important game, you know, because our kids remembered that game. And I remember one time, I think it was Dee Richards. She was guarding Georgia, and she came off and she read a play that we were doing, and she tipped the ball away, and it came to me, and Dee looked at me and said, Run that again, Coach. I got it next time. And I just remembered the confidence that they had. And obviously it's a totally different team. It's a totally different team, but our kids remember that. But it was what we took from that was, okay, if you want to be that level, you got to have confidence like that. And we knew how hard we needed to play and compete to get to that level. And it was a signature game for us, you know, signature game for us. And they remember it vividly, so do I. And we refer back to it sometimes, you know, but it's kind of a full circle moment that we're hosting Baylor, you know, during their tenure. I think Andrews is the only one that was with that group. But, you know, and Mulkey came up to me after the game, and she said, you know, that was the best game we played all year. And she said, and I had a mask on. I think we had both. I had a mask on. And she said, behind that mask, I know you're smiling because, you know, you're really good. You just got babies. You say your kids are just babies. And Georgia was a freshman, Liz was a sophomore. You know, everybody was sophomores. And I remembered that. I remembered that, and we took a lot from that, and we grew up from that.
Let's go Joey and then second row. And then David.
Joey with Legacy Maker Sports. We had talked last night about how, you know, I really felt like this was, or last, the Marshall game was really a coming out party for Carly and Clara Strack. How important is it for them to, you know, continue on that path and really just kind of play as loose and have as much fun as they did against Marshall?
It's very important. Obviously, they're thrust into situations where they have to have more prominent roles, especially Clara. We have every bit of confidence in Clara. And, you know, a lot of people want to refer to Clara as baby Liz or little Kitley or whatever. Clara's Clara. And you know, we're not trying to ask her to be anyone but Clara Strack. And she's pretty good at doing that. And so we understand that she doesn't have the experience that Liz has. But we still have confidence in her and throwing the ball inside to her and getting her in positions where she can be successful. I'm excited because we can actually get back to some of the plays that we were running before And like today, I was just so giddy because I'm like, okay, let's run this play. We haven't run it in probably 4 or 5 weeks, and so we have a lot of confidence in her. And then Carly, stepped up. I think I referred to it as she's played like a big girl yesterday, and she was just so poised, and I was very proud of her. And both of them get their opportunities, and they were kind of sporadic throughout the year, but it was rightfully so because they're playing behind 2 All-Americans, but they were also able to learn, and so hopefully down the stretch they'll take that experience, and they'll be big for us. They have to be big for us in order for us to advance. Because I told everyone, I said, there's no bad teams left. By the time we start playing, there's going to be 32 of us. So everyone's going to be good. So you have to be good.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Hey, Brookie.
You have had to play a lot of different people
Yeah.
who haven't had that many minutes this season. As the minutes have increased for those girls, is there anyone who you would hand the most improved to?
All of them. Yesterday, I was so proud of all of them. We just had a big group hug after the game, because I was just so proud of all of them. But a lot of people don't understand. In that moment on that stage yesterday, we had 2 players that had played in the NCAA tournament. Okay. And that was Georgia and Liz, and ironically, both of them were in foul trouble the whole time. So we were playing essentially with kids who were doing it for the very first time. We were doing it with freshmen. All right, we were doing it with transfers who came here so that they can play in the NCAA tournament. And the way that they responded, I can't tell you I've been more proud of a group because they never got shell-shocked. They never, looked at the moment like it was really, really big. Sometimes you can go, and I've had kids before where you play in your first NCAA game and there's nobody there, or the crowd is maybe, sparse because you're not playing against the home team or whatever the case may be. But that place was packed, and bless their heart, Marshall fans tried to let's go herd, and I think that made the Hokie fans mad, and that place was about to erupt because the 2 teams were chanting, and if that don't get you fired up, nothing will. But they kept their composure throughout, and I was very proud of all of them. So I can't give it to one, but they all stepped up and did a wonderful job.
David, then Mark, then Tim.
David Cunningham, Tech sideline. So much was made about the way Marshall played, but I thought something that maybe wasn't talked about enough was your defense. What did you like about throughout the entire game, the poise from on that end of the floor, and going into another big one tomorrow? What do you like about how you guys are playing on the defensive end?
I was very pleased with our defensive effort. They follow the scout, and that's when we're pretty good, and that's what we do well. We follow the scout. We're not going to go out and force 24 turnovers a game. We're not going to go out and really take away a lot. But they follow the scout. And yesterday we wanted to funnel Marshall to areas that we wanted them to play in. We knew that they were very aggressive on the 3-point line, and we wanted to make sure we had high hand on them all the time and contesting the 3-point shot, forcing them to penetrate. And our length really came into play during that because when they got towards the rim, we stayed with them and we contested the shot without bringing the help defense from the weak side, so we were still in position to rebound the basketball. And our kids stayed disciplined to that. They didn't play out of character, and they got some offensive rebounds, which they shoot shots sometimes when you don't think they're going to shoot it, and then there's like wild rebounds, and they came up with a lot of those because they were quicker to the basketball. But for the most part, we did exactly what we wanted. We made them shoot the shots that we wanted, and that was an testament to them following the defensive principles that we set for that game. And so, yes, I was very pleased with our defense.
Kenny, obviously these guys are not a 13 seed like Marshall. They're an AP top 25 team just like you. They beat people like Utah and Texas. What jumps out to you on film to kind of explain, maybe you see something and go, okay, yeah, they're on the same level as you guys?
Oh, they are. We've kind of, I don't know what the committee was thinking, but it was probably Blacksburg or Waco, and so you understand the evenness of both of the teams, our seasons and whatnot. Nikki does a tremendous job with that group. She's had big shoes to fill, and she's done them very nicely. And that team is they're a feisty team. And obviously, they have some transfers who fill the roles, and they're very experienced. They're experienced where they need to be. In the guard spots, those kids, Andrews, is a fifth-year senior. Walker is battle-tested. She's played in the SEC and out in the in the Big 12, and then they have kids coming off the bench, that are really good, and so they're poised, they understand it, they're strong, they're physical, and it's going to be a battle, and these are instances where you wish you had a 6'6" All-American available, because I think that would have really given us an advantage in certain areas, but we don't, and we're not. The expectation is no different. And we're going to go out there, and we feel like that we put our game plan into use and we execute it, then we give ourselves a tremendous chance to win.
Kenny, obviously, Kayla King will play at Castle Coliseum for the final time in her career on tomorrow. How would you define her legacy of her 5 years of Blacksburg?
Underrated. She's been my security blanket, for the last 3 or 4 years. She proves that your importance shouldn't be, judged by how many points you score, how many rebounds you get. That kid is very, very important, not only for culture building, just dependability, and she's just the ultimate student athlete. And she's done so much for this program. It's remarkable, because I don't know if people would have said, okay, coming out of high school, Kayla King is going to be a main cog to take a program to the top of the ACC. And we believed in her. She believed in us. And, she's not always perfect, but she's that player on the floor. She's extremely smart, intelligent. She can be another coach on the floor. And she's just morphed into something that a lot of people didn't expect, but we knew she could be. And it's been very valuable to us. And so, when you talk about, their legacy, you're going to talk about Elizabeth Kitley, and I'm sure her jersey's going to be hanging in the rafters one day. Georgia Amores should be right beside it. And, I don't think Kayla's would be hanging beside it because it's really based on numbers, but, her importance to this team was every bit, Liz's and Georgia's and their contributions.
Let's go Jermaine, then David, and then...
Well, Coach, first of all, it's a joy as always to see you, sir. I got to ask you, the Baylor coach said, by far, this is the loudest place she's ever been for a basketball game. And obviously, she said it's not going to be a lot of green and gold in the stands. So just your thoughts about that, because, a while back, I remember you keep saying, hey, we couldn't even give away tickets. Now it's like everybody wants one, and the ticket prices, and just seeing how this has exploded here.
It's one of the things I'm most proud of, throughout my tenure as a basketball coach. Being a father of 3 daughters, being a women's basketball coach, watching how these young women work and their dedication to the sport, to their fan bases, they deserve better. And we've been fighting it for a long time. And for me, as a former men's basketball player and men's basketball coach, and you get to see it and watch the kids experience the atmosphere on the men's side. And then when I switched over to the women's side, I learned that the women work as hard or harder, and they deserve the same. And to watch them go out, and it's really disheartening to see your team go to a men's game and it's packed, and then they go out to play, and then it's not. And I've always said that if you have a passionate fan base like we do at Virginia Tech, and it is basketball, okay, you should come out and support both teams, because Virginia Tech women's basketball is Virginia Tech, and it's basketball. And what we've done here is obviously we've recruited to Virginia Tech kids who are going to represent Virginia Tech extremely well, who are going to love the Hokies. They're going to go out and they're going to play. I think the community has really fallen in love with our kids as people, and it makes them really come out and play. And then you get here, and then you're like, man, this is a beautiful brand of basketball. It's fun. It's fun and exciting to watch Georgia Amore grow into an All-American. It's fun to watch Elizabeth Kitley grow into an All-American. And then you go to Kroger or Target and you see them and you really feel like you can just touch them and talk to them because they're normal kids. And I think those are recipes to building it, and we've done that. And then you get the backing from the places that you need to get the backing from, and this is what it can be. And that's what it has become. And it's a lot of cool moments because I've coached, I've played, and I played here in Castle, and they were booing me every time I touched the ball, and I didn't know why. But the place was loud, and now to be on the other side of it, it just makes you feel good because my young ladies, they work hard. They work so hard, and they deserve this. And now they're being able to, just be in it, it's something that they'll always remember, and it just makes you proud.
David's got the last question.
A little bit of a different question. Katie Meier announced her retirement a couple of days ago. She was the longest tenured head coach in the ACC.
Don't tell me. No, I'm not. No, okay, go ahead.
No, it's Jeff. It's Jeff. Yeah.
Okay.
As somebody who came into this league in 2016, and I know it seems like you and Katie have had a really great relationship. What has she meant to you and meant to the ACC?
You know, Katie is, we're going to miss Katie. The women's basketball world is going to miss Katie. The ACC is going to miss Katie. She wasn't only a tremendous coach, she was a tremendous person, but she was a tremendous advocate for women's basketball. Just sitting in meetings with her and the ideas that she has, the passion that she shows, I learned so much. I learned so much from her. And competing against her was a joy because we would compete against each other and we would try to beat each other up. And then as soon as the game is over with, you know, the most genuine conversations I could have with her. She was one of the very first coaches that genuinely welcomed me into this league. And I appreciated it, and I appreciated it still. And, you know, we were actually in Greece, me and my wife. They were there, her and her wife. And, you know, we got to sit down and talk. And, you know, just every time I see her wife, she gives me a big hug. And she sees my wife, she gives her a big hug. So it's like she's more than just a coach. And when I say this league is going to miss her and women's basketball is going to miss her, I haven't talked to her yet. But I'm sure, I hope she's happy. And obviously she made this decision for herself, but she was very, very special to us.
Well said. All right, Coach Brooks, thank you for your time. Best
All right,
of luck
thank you,
tomorrow.
guys.